How's it going, everyone? Dylan here from All You Can Board, back with another Marvel Champions video. This time we are looking, of course, at Valkyrie, which was announced last week. I was on vacation and I could not make a video for it the day of like I normally do. And in fact, it was the day I left. I was literally in the car on my way across Canada. We were driving super far in Canada. And I saw that a new hero gets posted. And I have this inside joke running with Carlo that Asmodee tries to release preview articles for new heroes at the most inconvenient time for me to make them, because I usually end up having to like find a way to fit it into my schedule the day they release, even though the day before I was like completely available. So of course the day I leave, a hero gets announced. But that being said, this one's late, but I'm still going to cover it because I was reading it for the first time. And in fact, this is the second time I'm recording this video, because the first time, I guess because I was back from vacation, I forgot my process. I didn't check how much room was left on the card, and I actually only recorded like 5 minutes of the video, and the rest was just me talking in an empty room. So maybe that'll happen again. Maybe all of this will be for moot or for not. But either way, we are talking Valkyrie. This is a brand new hero coming to Marvel Champions, and it is I don't want to say it's more of like a standard hero, but it's less unique than some of the other heroes that we've seen. And what I mean by that is there's nothing here that's completely shaking up the rules or the foundation of Marvel Champions in the same way that, you know, Adam Warlock makes you construct your deck wildly differently than any other hero, or that Spectrum has, you know, the different forms that she goes into. There's nothing I would say overly unique, but there is still a brand new, unique aspect to this hero. I just think it'll be a little bit more manageable for people to get into, sort of in the same way that Drax was a little bit more of a standard hero, while still bringing new stuff to the table. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into Valkyrie, and we're going to start by looking at her alter ego form. So her alter ego form is Brunhild, recovery of 4. The big thing here is the setup ability. So the setup ability is set the Death Glow upgrade aside out of play, which means you are always going to have that Death Glow upgrade out of play that you can use at any point in the game. You're never gonna have to wait for it to come up in your deck. You're gonna do that right at the start. The action here is detach Death Glow and set it aside out of play. So you're probably wondering, you know, what does this all mean? I would need to see Death Glow for some context. We're gonna get there. I'm just gonna do the hero form first, so you have the full understanding of what Death Glow does before we actually dive into what Death Glow is. So the hero form is, of course, Valkyrie. It has a 1 thwart, 2 attack, 1 defense. I should have mentioned the hit points are 12, hand size is 6, and now 5 for the hero form. Ability here is Death Perception. So Death Perception is hero action. Play the set aside Death Glow upgrade as if it were in your hand. So you do set this aside at the start of the game, and at any point you can play it like it was in your hand. It doesn't take up a hand slot. You never have to wait for it to, you know, come up out of your deck. You always have access to it. So obviously everything to do with rating these cards and saying how good or bad I think it is, it comes down to Death Glow for this hero form. So let's look at Death Glow before we talk about everything. 1 resource cost for an upgrade attached to an enemy, so it's going to be jumping around to different enemies. When attached enemy is defeated, set this card aside out of play once again, and if Valkyrie defeated that enemy, ready her. So the big thing with Death Glow is that you want to be the one to lay the finishing blow on the enemy that it's attached to. Then you are going to be able to ready Valkyrie and get another turn. If this is a minion, as an example, that means that there's an opportunity here for you to just consistently put this onto new minions, beat them, ready her again, and keep on going. So obviously we are seeing that this is very much in the same vein as Thor, a hero that focuses on wanting to have minions on the board and be engaged with minions. Super exciting, because I know that Thor isn't always universally liked, and some, you know, rate him near the bottom. So for some, maybe this you know, returning to this minion theme isn't super exciting, but I do think it's a good thing for the game, because when you have these heroes that are focused on dealing with minions, it's really good for multiplayer. It might not be always as good as for solo, but we'll see as we go through these cards. There's a ton of hints here that this is sort of a hero that's meant to be used in multiplayer. And even though I play this game mostly solo, that is not the only way to play this game. And it's great that we're going to get some options and some heroes that, you know, might flourish in that environment. And as we'll see, Valkyrie has a lot of support cards and a lot of ways to flourish when she has other people to help her do things. Dealing with minions is just another one of those things. I think Death Glow is super cool. If anyone's played Gloomhaven, I'm not going to spoil the class because it is an unlockable class, but there's a class that you can unlock that has something similar to Death Glow with, you know, the attachment to different enemies and it jumping around and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. If there's any other Gloomhaven fans out there, let me know in the comments if that's what you thought when you saw this, because that's where my mind went right away. But anyways, all the alter ego and hero form and Death Glow are kind of like a package I'm talking about here. I think it's really cool. Again, it's nothing overly like ridiculously groundbreaking in terms of design, but not every hero should have that, nor can we expect it. I think that Valkyrie does bring some pretty cool stuff to the table based on what I'm seeing here. And as we're about to see with these other cards, it's not just about readying her with the Deathglow upgrade. A lot of other cards will come into play to do with the fact that this Deathglow upgrade is moving to different enemies. So let's talk about one of those, which is Valhalla. So Valhalla is a 2-cost support. It says response after Valkyrie attacks and defeats an enemy that has the Deathglow upgrade attached. Exhaust Valhalla, draw 1 card, heal 1 damage from Valkyrie. So the idea is here, you get this out super early, you're constantly going to be going after the enemy that has Deathglow attached. So just by doing what Valkyrie wants to do in the first place, with Valhalla in play, you're essentially able to draw 1 extra card and heal 1 damage every single turn that you're able to accomplish this. Theoretically, you're going to want to try to do these most turns. Like, you should be taking out minions that have Deathglow attached. I mean, you can also take out the villain, but again, that's the whole point of beating the game. You're likely going to be putting Deathglow on minions much more often than you're putting it onto the villain, except maybe his early stage form right before you kill him or her. But Valhalla seems really cool. Again, if you get this out early and you're able to take advantage of it every turn, you basically can look at it as having an additional card to your hand size, as well as healing and damage every single turn, perhaps making it so you don't have to flip to alter ego as much. Very cool card. Not much more to say other than get this out early and you're going to be happy. I think I've said that before. Dragonfang. So Dragonfang, as we'll see with a couple, I think this card and the next one, as well as Deathglow, there is this sort of weapon theme where we have all the different weapons that Valkyrie is using in her arsenal. Dragonfang is one of those. This is another 1-cost upgrade. It's restricted. Valkyrie gets +1 attack, but +2 attack instead while she's attacking the enemy that has Deathglow attached. So again, you're incentivized to focus your attention on the enemy that has Deathglow, and for 1 resource cost, getting +2 attack, where she already has base 2 to start, 4 attack base with the ability to ready if she's killing the enemy that has Deathglow attached is hugely powerful. And as we'll see, like, this is the bread and butter of Valkyrie, is getting these upgrades out, being able to target the enemies that have, or the minions, the villain, whatever, that have Deathglow attached to do your maximum efficiency, maximum damage, and be as useful as possible, constantly readying. You can have huge, huge turns, constantly playing that Deathglow card and then having these cards take advantage of it. But again, it's easier to do that if you're playing multiplayer or even playing solo with multiple heroes, to be able to sort of protect Valkyrie and allow her to do these things and really hit her top potential. So I really like Dragonfang. Another card very similar is Valkyrie Spear. Another 1-cost upgrade, also restricted. Valkyrie gets +1 defense, +2 defense instead while defending against the enemy that has Deathglow attached. So again, if you're putting Deathglow on an enemy that, might be hitting you hard and you might not be defeating that turn, like, it might be at the end of your turn, for instance, and you've, taken out an enemy or a minion, and you've taken out maybe 2, and the last thing you can do is you can attach Deathglow to something. An option here is to attach this to a high power, villain, or the villain itself, or a high power minion, and basically make it so that you can have an easier time defending against their attacks on the next phase of the turn. So lots of potential here. I think that in my opinion, Dragonfang is more exciting just because it fits in with being able to do maximum damage, and as an aggression hero coming out of the box, that's something you're going to be wanting to do. But also, as an aggression hero, sometimes you're going to be lacking in defense and lacking in thwart. And as we'll see in this pack, there's a lot of ways to circumvent the fact that you might be lacking in those areas. This is the first one we're looking at. So very cool card. Next one is Shieldmaiden. So Shieldmaiden, before I even get into the ability itself, did anybody else get Kim Possible vibes from the art here? Like, I didn't watch Kim Possible growing up, but I know the art style. It's very distinct. Is this the same artist as Kim Possible, or is someone just like inspired by that art, or am I just completely out to lunch here? That's the first thing I thought. It's very distinct and different from the other pieces of artwork we see on the other cards, so it really stood out to me, but just wondering if anyone else had that same thought. So Shieldmaiden, 1-cost event, hero interrupt, when the enemy with Deathglow when the enemy with Deathglow attached attacks, declared Valkyrie as the defender without exhausting her, she gets +2 defense for that attack. So what's super interesting here is this is where I was talking about Valkyrie really flourishing in a multiplayer or multi-hero environment. Now she can sort of step in the way of an attack that's not even targeting her. So when the enemy that has Deathglow attached is attacking, say, another player, or I think this actually even works when it's attacking you. It does say when the enemy with Deathglow attached attacks, declare Valkyrie as the defender. So it doesn't say it has to be another ally, but that's something where a situation you're likely going to want to use it in. Basically, she steps in and It gets +2 defense, but more importantly, does not exhaust, which is the biggest thing for this card because, again, in aggression, you always kind of have to balance, am I going to defend against this attack or take it? And if I defend against it, next turn, I'm maybe not doing nearly as much damage or being nearly as useful. That's even more important in a solo environment. Having a card like Shieldmaiden makes it so that you're not punished at all. You're in fact rewarded for defending by not having to exhaust and getting +2 defense for a really low cost too. So I actually really like this card. I think that it's phenomenal, and I think that especially in multiplayer, you're going to see a lot of use out of this. And instead of just being a support hero that's biding her own time and doing stuff and having other people stall so that you can accomplish that, you're also stepping in and actually being functional, defending attacks with other players and sort of rewarding them for helping you out when you need it. So really like Shieldmaiden. Next card. Okay, this one's kind of cool. So this is Aragorn. Aragorn, is that not the character's name from Lord of the Rings? Is it Aragorn? I think it's Aragorn. I can't remember. Just don't hate me too much that I didn't get that right on the first go. I have watched all the movies. I haven't watched them in a long time though. I should probably go and binge all 3 of them in the extended editions for 12 hours or 14 hours or whatever that is. Anyways, Aragorn, 2 cost upgrade. Valkyrie gets +4 hit points and gains the aerial trait. So pretty simple. The +4 hit points is a pretty big deal. Bringing her up to 16 health max. That's awesome, especially for her durability. The aerial trait is interesting. It makes sense thematically with the card. I don't believe that we've seen any aerial cards in this pack yet. So there's nothing that's inherently taking advantage of aerial that you're going to get in the pack. We obviously do have some aerial cards, especially in the Star-Lord pack. New ones were introduced. I'm just wondering whether that's just sort of an add-on thing thematically and whether you'll actually see much use out of the aerial trait. I think mostly this is going to be give me 4 hit points, which for 2 resource costs is good. It's nothing earth-shattering, but again, as an aggression hero, especially if you're playing solo, take all the hit points you can get. So very good. Okay, let's talk about allies. You guys know how much I love allies. I talk about them all the time. We are getting 2 new allies here, and what's interesting is one of them I would have expected to have been the signature ally for Valkyrie, which is Thor, and instead we're getting a Thor aggression ally, which is really cool because now you can use this in any of the aggression decks you build. Both these allies are really good, and I think that they're really interesting. So let's look at Thor first. 3 cost, 3 health, 1 thwart, 2 attack. The important thing here is on the 3 attack. On the 3 attack, there is 2 consequential damage. Thor does come with toughness, which is awesome for an ally. The interrupt here is when Thor attacks a minion engaged with a player. Spend a lightning resource, resolve the attack against each minion engaged with that player. So I had to read this a couple times to make sure I was understanding it, but basically, if you have a lightning resource or in your hand, or an energy resource in your hand that you can play, you're going to spend that when Thor attacks, and whatever that his damage, his 3 attack, is essentially going to hit every single minion that is engaged with the player that you first targeted the minion for. So if you have a bunch of Ultron bots out with this player, and they have 5 in front of them, and you attack 1, and then discard the energy resource, that 3 attacks is gonna hit all of them. So we essentially have a board wipe packaged as an ally that can still soak 2 attacks because of the tough status on it, which is unreal. For 3 to potentially, again, this is best case scenario, to clear the board, at least in front of one player, to clear the board in front of a player, to take a single hit and still be alive, and then be able to do yet another clear, or to take another hit after that for 3 is ridiculous. I love this card. I think it's definitely going to see use. Again, toughness on allies is already just really good. The added ability here is just great. I can't wait to try this out. I think thematically, with what we've seen from the Thor hero, it makes sense that they went this direction, and I'm really pumped that it's an aggression ally and not just a signature ally that you can only use with Valkyrie. So that being said, let's go on to Throg, which is the frog version of Thor. I think this character just made a cameo appearance in Loki, but I don't know the character from the comics. I think he's awesome. So Throg is a 2-cost ally, 2 health, 1 thwart, 2 attack, only a single consequential damage on each of those. Response after Throg enters play, give him a tough status card if you are engaged with a minion. I think this is, it doesn't seem super flashy, but man, is this really good. At least has the potential to be, because you are going to find opportunities where you're engaged with a minion. Yes, it's going to be situational because sometimes you're going to have this in your hand and you are not going to be engaged with a minion. It's going to be a lot weaker. But when you are, to essentially get a 2-cost ally that can soak up 2 hits I guess potentially 3 if it only took a single damage, but guaranteed 2 hits is a big deal because 2 cost allies are already big in the game because of them being chump blockers. Being able to soak up 2 hits is pretty darn good. So I really like this card. Again, you could use the consequential damage to remove the tough status as well and take 1 hit and do 2 damage. However you slice it, there's a ton of potential here. It's not as exciting, I don't think, as the regular Thor aggression ally, in my opinion, but it's just a pretty solid 2-cost ally that I think will slot into some decks as a good way to sort of mitigate some damage and some hits while you're doing your other stuff. So pretty cool ally. And Throg. I love that they put Throg in this deck. It's amazing. I'm curious if we're going to still get a signature ally, what they haven't said. It's possible we do have another ally that's unveiled or not revealed yet. I don't know who it would be since Thor is already covered here, but maybe someone who follows Valkyrie more in the comics. Let me know if they were going to put a signature ally and who you'd expect it to be. Okay, so we're going to talk some aggression cards. So the first one is the Best Defense. Now, this is a 0-cost event that says Hero Interrupt, Defense. When your hero defends against an attack, use its attack instead of its defense for this attack. Awesome card. I love it. Again, it's not going to be used in every single deck. It's honestly not even going to be used in every single situation, but when you have a specific hero who is going to build up his attack value on his card, and again, aggression, you might, especially if you're playing solo, might be lacking in ways to mitigate damage, things like that. Being able to defend and use your potentially much higher attack value for 0 cost with that defense is a huge deal. I think it's going to be great in those situations where you just like really need to mitigate some damage, and this is your sort of solution to that. Do keep in mind, obviously, aggression wants to stay unexhausted and active so they can actually do stuff on their turn. Their whole MO is dealing damage. This still doesn't, change the fact that you're going to be exhausted and potentially less useful on your turn, especially if you're playing solo. So it's not like an amazing card. I don't think it's going to fit into every situation, but with the right hero and you need to buy yourself some time and be able to potentially do some defending every now and then, I think this is a really, really great way to do it because you'll usually find those defense values to be lower on the ones that have super high attack values. So very cool card. Whether it becomes more useful than just a situational, thing you insert here and there remains to be seen, but I do like what they've done with it. Next up is Smash the Problem. 1-cost event. This is a hero action thwart. Exhaust your hero, remove threat from a scheme equal to your hero's attack. So similar to the last card, it's rewarding your attack value for having high attack value and using it as a stand-in for another value. So this is for thwart. Again, if you're playing aggression, you're probably not doing a lot of thwarting or you're not very good at it, especially if you're playing solo. You might not have anyone else to step in there for you. This, for a single cost, it's not 0 like the last one, is basically you are exhausting your hero and you're thwarting, it's like you're doing a basic thwart, but having to pay this card with it to essentially do a thwart for your attack value. So again, very, very good. This is an easy card to slot in if you're playing a scenario where you feel like, hey, I'm doing a lot of damage, but I can't seem to outrun the threat that builds up on the scheme and I don't have enough ways to counteract it, and I don't like the cards I'm having to insert to do that. Here's a new way to do that I think will at least find its way into some decks as people try to, especially in solo again, to try to figure out a way to deal with that threat while also still doing what you want to do as a damage dealer. So very cool card. I like that they add in these sort of cards that reward you for having high attack value in other areas. The last one we're going to look at is Quick Strike. 2-cost event. It's pretty simple. Deal damage to an enemy equal to your attack. So again, this is another card we're seeing that if you have a high attack value on your hero, this could be an instant slot in. But if you only have 2 attack, even 3 attack, for 2 resource costs do 3 damage. I mean, I think that's exactly Haymaker if I'm not mistaken. So at that point, it's not really that great. I think this, again, isn't a card that just slots into any aggression deck by any means. But if you're playing a hero that you can reliably build their attack up to 5 or 6 or something crazy, or even just on the turn you happen to have Quick Strike in your hand, you're able to boost your attack. Suddenly, this is a 2-cost deal 5 or a 2-cost deal 6, which is something we normally only see in signature cards. So the potential is there. It's not always going to work out. Excuse me, I had some in my throat. I had a Throg in my throat. That was awful. Quick Strike won't slot into every single deck, but it will absolutely find its way into some, and I think it'll be pretty neat to see how it plays in those and how people utilize it. So those are all the cards. That is Valkyrie. I am pretty pumped about Valkyrie. I know I say that about most of the heroes, but for a hero that I didn't, on first glance, I didn't think was reinventing enough based on what we had seen from other heroes recently. I really do like what they're doing with Deathglow and it moving around. And I do like the aggression cards we're getting. I'm a huge aggression aspect fan, so the fact that we're getting more tools for that aspect and these allies and stuff is really exciting. So I can't wait to play Valkyrie. Let me know in the comments what you think. Which cards are you most excited for? You know, how do you rank Valkyrie with the other heroes we're waiting for in terms of your anticipation? What do you think overall? And you know, tell me a little bit more about Valkyrie in the comments if you want, about the hero in the comics and stuff, because I literally only know about Valkyrie through the movies. I did not read the comics with her, so I am going in pretty much blind to her, you know, her comic book character or her counterpart here. So let me know in the comments anything you want about that. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Again, I have not received Mad Titan's Shadow yet, and I think Nebula is coming out this month too in September. So at some point, I'm going to be having all this new content for you guys, absolutely doing reviews on all of them, and I'm sure we'll get another hero announcement this month. And if Asmodee keeps up the you know, the timing of them, it'll probably be when I'm, you know, gone for 2 days or I'm just getting into bed or something like that. That's when they'll announce that there's a new hero, and I'll have to either push everything else I have going aside to release it on time, or I'll have to be late again. But thank you for your patience and waiting for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.